if there are any Supernatural fans out there, this is kind of like where Sam gets thrown into the pit of hell with Michael and Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, like you're not dead, but you're never coming out. Like this is eternity now.
At least in this season.
At least in this season. This will be our final season, but wait, there's more.
Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra episode 34. I'm your host Ryan, here with your other host Hetch.
What is up?
We're back again. Shurima's happening. If you didn't listen to the Point X episode, you should have to prepare yourself for this glorious journey. Your bags should be packed. Hetch told you to pack your bags last episode. So if your bags aren't packed, we know you didn't listen.
Yeah, this is actually, I'm recording from a hotel room. I don't know where I'm at. Like, it was something pandemic and Shurima not a real place. So I hopped on a bus and yeah, I'm living my best life.
Housekeeping up top as always. So you guys can listen to us anywhere. If you want to swap platforms, it's up to you. We'll be there. Follow us on Twitter. Best way to keep up to date on episodes, and that's at Podcast Core. That's Podcast COR. You can send us an email at the same name at gmail.com. Leave a like, follow, and a short review. We always appreciate it. And tell a friend to let the Bloodlust consume them and rage with the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
Oh, the rage is already consuming me. Is it just me, or is everything turning red? My body's ready.
My body's ready. So I've been playing a little bit again. I'm still playing the Noxus Overwhelm deck I talked about 2 episodes ago because I'm enjoying that variant. I've always kind of enjoyed Overwhelm. It fits into my play style. But I did switch to a variant from a Japanese player named Jori. I'm not really sure how he pronounces it, but I've been watching his version because previously I started with the Swim version, and his version fits a lot more into my playstyle. It's a lot more proactive and consistent with doing things, where Swim's version was a little bit slower. And I know Swim's tweaking his version to have a different game plan, but I've been enjoying it. It's, I've had a few hours here and there at night where I play before I go to bed. And the games have just been, I've been rolling people, right? Which is great. The one deck I do have trouble with are some, like, weirdly enough, the Victor deck, because it does, like, Victor gets out of hand a little faster than I would like. So yeah,
it's a speed. It really is, like that little quality of life change to Victor. Yeah. Definitely was like giving him that little bit of a grace period that he needed, which is exciting because, he needed something, and it was like, okay, this is a very small change, but it was the right change. So
yes. Yeah.
That's cool. But I'm not surprised at all that you went with a more aggressive style, Mr. Oh, there's a new set. Like, we're going to be having this conversation like 2 weeks from now, and it's going to be like, yeah, there's a lot of Shurima decks around, so I'm playing discard aggro.
I'm trying to kill them before they can play their cards.
Yeah, so I know you.
New cards don't matter if they don't get to play them.
I was trying to get. All right, now hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I was working on a list of Riven and Vi in the same deck, so that I could put the Exile's Blade on Vi and just dome somebody with Vi.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's really bad. So instead of giving that list, I will just say that I've been playing Scouts this week. And I'm not going to tell you how many games of Scouts that I played this week.
Wait, he's withholding information.
So I'm just on my failed dreams.
The failed dreams. Listen, I commend you for sticking, like, whenever you're in doubt, you go back to scouts, right? That should be the tagline.
I need that on a T-shirt, man. Just
T-shirts.
Yeah, when in doubt, play scouts.
Yep.
Just because that's what I do. I'm like, God, I'm sick and tired of losing. Misfortune help.
So let's hop into our main topic for this episode: Bloodlust Brother. We're talking about the neck boy, Renekton. We talked about him in the trailer. He was a main character in the trailer, which was hype, showing his rage as usual. So we're going to talk about where that rage comes from. In our therapy session, this is an intervention for Renekton. This is what this episode has become. But first, we're going to talk about the spells, right? So we had a few. He was revealed, as always. And usually when they do the reveals, they give us a few spells that relate to them as they'll appear in the set. So for Renekton, we got some cool ones. And the big one that stood out to me was Exhaust. So this is the first time we're seeing the new spell defined as Focus, which is a spell speed that you're familiar with because it came along with gems. So with gems, essentially it's a burst speed spell that you can use at burst speed, but you can't use during combat. So they've opted to define that spell type, which is good because we talked about how it's a great way for them to work around designs and not break everything with certain cards that they want to introduce. So now they're called focus cards. And the symbol is like a little pink symbol that's kind of like it's a diamond, but kind of like a tornado sort of looking. What does it look like to you?
It's a very strangely shaped jewel. Yeah, looking like purple jewel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I'm very glad that they just went ahead and gave it a keyword because, it's been, even we have been talking about how terrifyingly toxic something can be at burst speed. Hush, cough, cough, 3 mana burst, cough, cough. So it's really nice that they just went ahead and embraced like what they've done with gems and like with the reforged cards too, and just went, you know what? Yeah, we're going to keep doing this. Let's give it a keyword and keep putting more stuff out for it because it gives them a lot of creative things to do. Yes. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm down for this.
And I need a round of applause for myself that I resisted the urge to choose the 3 mana burst spell in this set. That was revealed. All right. It took a lot of effort. I typed it a couple times in the notes. I erased it. And then because Exhaust really deserves it because it should be the focus. I just want people to understand how big of a decision that was for me. But we'll get there at some point. I'm sure it will break the game. So with Exhaust, with this focus spell, it has give an enemy -2/-0 and vulnerable this round. So at the focus speed, this is a good card. I think this is solid. Obviously, it costs 1. It functions as a burst spell. And it's a good way on offense to immediately swing a fight in your favor because you get to maintain priority after you play it, right? So this obviously wants to be paired with like challenger effects as well.
And it's also really cool because it's one of the few of these what we now know as focus spells. It's one of the few that gives a little bit more flexibility with it not being necessarily on your attack token. Because the only other card that's like that is the spell that you get off of a flipped Lulu, which help picks.
Yep.
So I was about to say, I was like, oh crap, I haven't played Lulu in so long.
No one has.
I don't even remember what that's called. Yeah, but the picks that Lulu got was the only one that gave you like that flexibility of like, this is useful when I don't have an attack token.
Yeah.
So Exhaust being something that's like that, that's also at that pre-requirement of can't be an answer to a spell or in combat. It's like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is good. That's already like fun interactivity that we're seeing out of this mechanic that's new and old at the same time.
Exactly. So this takes us to our follower that we picked from this set, which there's some good ones, but Bloodthirsty Marauders stood out. So this is a cool card because lore-wise, there's some implications, and Hedge is going to talk about that when we get to Renekton. We also saw this guy in the trailer. So at the beginning, the main character of that trailer was being chased by an individual, and that guy was a bloodthirsty marauder riding a crocodile through the desert, which sounds terrifying because it is. And this card is pretty solid. So it's a straightforward card. There's no keywords. It's just a basic 1 cost 3/1, which, with Renekton and his style, it emphasizes aggression for the stats. But it's funny because it actually is suited more to defense, right? This is a card that you kind of want to play on your opponent's offensive turn because you get a 3 damage creature to plop in front of something for 1. So you can commit something to the board, keep a bunch of mana open, and they have to really think about if they want to attack with one of their, characters with a bigger dumpy than most. Let's put it that way.
Oh, not the dumpy again. Yeah, it's the it's also showing that a quick shout out to that. Blanking on the name of the card, but it's the Reforged card that got released with Riven. That's a 3/1, and it's like, 3/1 at 2 mana is not good.
Rune Carver.
Yeah, Rune Carver.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. Like, it's at 2 mana because, you get another card of the Reforged. But, 1 mana 3/1, you have my attention. Because that is, that's definitely really cool. But definitely the lore implications are a lot more curious to me on this one. And, of course, they're going to be more curious because it is just a vanilla 3/1.
Weaver, sorry. Rune Weaver.
Rune Weaver. Thank you. But yeah, you can't get too excited about a vanilla 3/1. Like that's like the card itself. Yeah. What more can you talk about? But Bloodthirsty Marauders. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Hold on. And other aggro decks are going to want this card as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's value. There's value there.
There's definitely value there, but like for me, it's definitely more like, oh, hang on, let me think lore stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's where it gets exciting for this. And they definitely made it more exciting because that cinematic is incredible. If you haven't watched the cinematic for Shurima yet, go watch it. If you haven't watched any of the cinematics for the Runeterra games, Riot did not skimp on those. Like, go watch them.
Yeah.
They really good.
Yeah.
Like, they're stupid good. So
really
it's really nice to see that he got a card.
Yeah, let's talk about Neckboy then. Let's get into it.
Well, let's get into it. So the Neckboy himself is one of the most terrifying things that old boomer hands veterans of League of Legends players like Ryan and myself know and remember. The menace of the top lane himself. So already we had flashbacks. Okay, now, so when we are looking at the story of Renekton, we don't know this for whether it's having an effect in the game of Runeterra yet. We can assume that it's going to, but we cannot talk about Renekton's story without mentioning his brother, Nasus. And Nasus is another champion in League of Legends. So their stories are very much hand in hand, kind of similar to like Leona and Diana. So I'm going to say Nasus's name. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. All right. So, but the brothers of Renekton and Nasus were super tight all throughout all of their lives. So from a very young age moving forward. Nasus is the elder.
We have to emphasize, human brothers.
Human brothers.
From what we know,
that's right.
Human,
or so Renekton,
some humanoid race.
So big spoiler to the story. Renekton was not always a crocodile. Right. So
wait,
what? So Nasus and Renekton were human children growing up in the lands of Shurima. Nasus, the older brother, very smart, very calm and collected, and was very much a scholastic achiever, and was noticed by all of his peers, young and old. Renekton was the street thug. All right, even from a young age, Renekton would be out in the streets playing with friends, getting very rowdy and picking fights. He was always getting into fights, and that is the beginning of their story, and it's very important because Nasus ends up going to the most well-known academy in Shurima, while Renekton keeps picking fights, except he's progressively getting into worse fights, going into worse places to get into more exciting fights. Renekton
just like anime.
Yeah, Renekton just wanted to throw hands. All right,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm bored. Let's do this. So Nasus reaches a point where he can pull some strings, and he gets Renekton to join the military of Shurima. And he's able to do this before Renekton is even of legal age to join the army. And so that's about all the picture you need to know about Nasus and the pull that he has at this point within the army. So Renekton joins the army, and joining the army is, everyone's probably thinking right now of somebody that they know that ended up joining the military, and straightened their act up. And for Renekton, that's very much his character. He's going into a army situation was the discipline that he needed to kind of rein in his aggressive behavior, while also giving his battle prowess a chance to shine. Because if you spend your entire life growing up getting into fist fights, you're gonna be good at fighting. All right, because you're either gonna be a broken body, or you're gonna be good at it. And Renekton did not have a broken body. So Renekton ends up becoming a very well-known and renowned soldier within the Shuriman army, and this lets him jump up into a very high-standing position as far as a captain of his own regiment. But he's still very much a hands-on, grizzled, and battle-scarred veteran. He does not ascend to the ranks of like Swain in Noxus, where he's calling out all the shots, and he has no interest in that. Renekton was just enjoying his time being able to beat up people and get paid for it. Right. And we do have to point out that Shurima is the ancient civilization that a lot of stories bring up of like the rise and fall of civilizations, but Shurima was very much a conquering body. They were an expansionist nation. So there were a lot of fights that Renekton was going to be a part of. And there were times that Renekton was fighting in battles that it was believed he would not return from. There's one story as far as with the with saving the isolated city of Zareta. And this is where Renekton ends up becoming like a named entitled soldier, and he becomes the gatekeeper of Shurima. And this was a battle that Nasus ended up taking an army to, because it was believed that they were all going to be dead, like the 300 and King Leonidas situation. And Renekton's just sitting there going, yeah, what's up? I'm back, baby. So
wearing a backwards hat.
So he thrives in the battlefield. He is living for this. And now we can fast forward past his army career to when he goes back home because Nasus is dying. All right. So they have full lives within the Shuriman army, and then Nasus gets afflicted with a disease, and he's only got like a week to live. So Renekton goes to visit him, and the elite of Shurima announce that they are going to allow Nasus to become an ascendant. So the ascendants in the land of Shurima are the ruling elite of Shurima, and they have undergone a process with the Sun Disk to be gifted by the gods immortal bodies. All right, so Nasus is going to become one of these. To become one, he must ascend the steps of the sundial to undergo the ritual. He is so sick and so weak that he cannot ascend these steps. So without a second thought, Renekton picks up his dying brother and goes up the steps with him. So everyone believes that Renekton is going to die now because he was not allowed to undergo this process. He was not given permission to do so. So the gods would strike him down dead. The process begins, and lo and behold, 2 god warriors emerge from the ritual. So Nasus and Renekton both become ascendants.
Self-sacrifice.
So this is where we get the neck boy himself. This is where we have the crocodile that is Renekton, where Nasus takes on the appearance of a jackal.
Jackal. It's Jackal. Jackal? Is it a jackal?
Is it a jackal?
It's a jackal. Jackal. It's a jackal.
You know, Ryan, if it wasn't a jackal the first time, why the hell would it be the next?
Our young listeners will not know, and this time I won't tell them.
Yeah, so Renekton and Nasus both get changed, but everyone, including Nasus, kind of starts thinking to themselves that part of Renekton's mortal soul might be gone. Not just his body, but what made him human might be entirely gone. Because now Renekton has gone from a battle-scarred veteran into a bloodthirsty killer. So now there's points where Renekton would kind of start lashing out at his subordinates physically, killing some allies because he couldn't tell friend from foe. And it's like, oh, hold up. Now,
friendly fire happens.
But friendly fire is not supposed to happen, and that's the problem. Right? So, you know, and what's funny enough about the story is that we don't even go into talking about like a court-martialing for Renekton. No, like since they are ascendants, they're the most powerful beings of Shurima. So both Nasus and Renekton start, you know, taking on more responsibilities for the kingdom of Shurima. And the next ascendant, which was going to be the young Emperor Azir, something goes wrong.
Yep.
The sun disk explodes. They return home, and there is no home. Nuclear bomb has gone off in Shurima. They have no idea what's happened. They only see a being of pure energy, which later on is named, they find out, is the Magus of the attendant of Azir, which is Xerath. So Xerath is now a being of pure energy.
Demacia warned y'all. Those Maguses, you can't trust them.
You can't trust the mages. Right? Like, don't look at the mages. Demacia is forever. All right. So Nasus and Renekton start fighting Xerath to try to protect what's left of this kingdom, and Renekton gets Nasus to put him into the Tomb of Emperors. And the only way to get him in there is Renekton physically wrestles him into there. So this is where you start seeing, like, you know, there is Renekton still in this crocodile being, although this crocodile being just kind of wants to eat everybody nearby. So Nasus begrudgingly agrees to Renekton's request, and he seals the Tomb of Emperors with Renekton and Xerath inside. Yeah. So this is more like, if there are any Supernatural fans out there, this is kind of like where Sam gets thrown into the pit of hell with Michael and Lucifer. All right, like, you're not dead, but you're never coming out. Like, this is eternity now.
At least in this season.
At least in this season. This will be our final season, but wait, there's more. Yeah, so Nasus, you know, seals off his brother for what he thinks is the last time he'll ever see him. So for the time that they're trapped in the tomb, Xerath and Renekton are just duking it out, dodging each other, both trying not to die while both trying to kill the other guy. And throughout this unknown batch of time, Xerath starts manipulating Renekton's thoughts and manipulating his aggressive behavior that's been already exemplified by the transition into an ascendant. And he's manipulating that aggression to say, this is Nasus's fault. So Xerath manipulates Renekton into just becoming angry at Nasus. Yep. Not necessarily like, oh, now he's a tool of Xerath. No, he's now just no longer has any friend. Their ally is not a word he knows anymore. And the mortal world rediscovers the tomb. We later find out that this is millennia past. Yeah. All right. The land of Shurima is gone. Nothing that Renekton and Xerath recognizes exists anymore. But all Renekton knows is that he's out, and he's going to kill that jackal that locked him up. Yep. And he somehow gains a following. So now there's like this sect in these deserts, in this wasteland of these people that are just here not to live a long life, just to live a good one, quote unquote. And all that anyone knows of them is that anyone who gets close dies. And sometimes their leader kills them. And that is what we know of this desert wasteland, and all that we know of Renekton and the here and now world of Runeterra. It's a good story. A wild ride.
It's a good. So the part that stands out to me before we get into the card, the part that stands out to me is it's great to see the growth of Renekton, right, from this innate behavior of being aggressive and a brawler into becoming more disciplined through military. But then when he ascends, due to this self-sacrifice situation, he ascends into, and when you ascend, usually your chosen form is related to your personality. So he turns into this crocodile creature, but it brings him back to his core innate behavior, which is aggression, which is, brutal, which is more of a brawler type core. So it's like this, this growth into ascendance, although he descends back into his primordial or primal self. And then it just gets darker and darker from that point because of the question mark, box that happens with Azir and Zera showing up, which brings everything back into this dark place, which fits the destroyed city now of Shurima, which is just, it's a great storytelling approach here.
And the thing that you just said that really is like the biggest takeaway from what this bare bones into Renekton is going to be like the idea of like, except that there's going to be some question marks here because there's a lot to dive into as far as who the Ascendants are, a lot to dive into with what the Sun Disk is, what the Sun Disk was and is, and a lot to dive into with where Shurima stood back in time and where Shurima stands now. Renekton is just the tiniest tip of the iceberg, and we could go on forever just diving into like these little details with Shurima, and that's the fact that we can do that is what makes it such good storytelling.
Yeah, and this is one of those stories that's reminiscent of, Victor that has a lot of crossover. So we'll get more as we get more of the champions to fill it out, which is, is what makes this fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the card, because this is the part where it's like, okay, story's great, and the card is just as it's just as much of a twist and turn as the story behind Neckboy himself.
Yeah, and a quick little callback to our Point X episode for these new cards. The card already just has a lot to talk about because of the fact that it levels up twice.
What?
All right, before we even talk about what this card is when you play it, it levels up twice. So already we had a lot of people freaking out because it was like, here's the card. The card levels up. And then they showed the level up frame. And on the card, it's like, to level me up. But we did that. But we did that. So, oh boy, talk about some excitement. So, all right. So first off, Renekton, 4 mana, 4/4 with Overwhelm.
Yes.
So already a really good stat line there. A little bit on the cheaper side, but the Overwhelm keyword is really good to have for attack. And he also has, when I challenge an enemy, give me +2/+1 this round. So that's already a lot of good text that we like to see. The key part here is that it does not have challenge.
Yep.
So you need to give either Renekton challenge or give creatures vulnerable to be able to have that mechanic actually trigger.
Yep.
So his level up is I've dealt 12+ damage. So without the challenge, 3 attacks, or 2 attacks,
which is
a block.
lot to be able to confirm.
Yeah, and he does not have that big dumpy. Well, he's got a good dumpy, but it's not like a monstrous dumpy to be looking at all those attacks. So, hey, you open that door. Laugh all you want. You open that door. So, like that, his level up is already like, it's already got some hoops to jump through. But when we get to the level up card, it becomes a 5/5 with Overwhelm. On attack, give me +3/+3 this round. All right, so that's sick. All right, like, rest in peace, Shyvana. I barely knew you. The deck that I put so much work in is just useless.
The
now.
true dragon, known as Renekton.
The true dragon is now Crocodile.
The swamp dragon.
The swamp dragon. Yeah, girl. All right, so yeah, like, +3/+3 and Overwhelm. Heck yes. But now it says level up again. So to level up for level 3 instead of just level 2, you've restored the Sun Disk. We talked about that card a little bit more in our Point X episode. As far as just quick bare bones, it's a landmark for 1 mana that you can draw if you're playing a fully Shurima deck, and it has countdown 25 before it's restored. All right, so if you have the restored Sun Disk, Renekton becomes his level 3 ascendant form, which is a 10/10 for 4 mana. Holy crap. Holy crap. So 10/10 with Overwhelm, and it now has, when I block or attack, deal 2 damage to enemies and the enemy nexus. Holy mother of pearl.
So it's essentially a situation in which Renekton, being an aggressive card, gives you this tiny window where you get to win the game. And if on either end you don't, you're going to lose. Because remember, when you level up a champion, even if they get rid of the first one, if you have another one in hand, it's leveled up.
Not only is it leveled up, but it's like, it's 4 mana. Like, now think of, like, if you've pulled off some weird shenanigans to where you've gotten like Rekindler off, like if you're not playing this in a fully Shurima deck, which wouldn't even be possible because would it? Like, because the sun,
we don't know yet.
Like, the Sun Disk like is drawn if it's all Shurima cards. But I think it still works if it's not all Shurima cards. Who knows? But like, you get like a copy of Renekton, so then it's like, if you did that, there's a Renekton on the board. You could have 2 Renektons in hand and play them both in a late game situation because it's 4 mana.
So Hedge made a joke when he talked about when new sets come out, when I immediately go to discard aggro. And this is one of the reasons. I have no time to be thinking about or dealing with these shenanigans at 10 mana. Like, once we get there, you're dead. If you're not dead, I've already quit. So it's irrelevant.
At turn 7, I have no cards in hand. So either I've won or I've lost.
Exactly.
The game is ending on this turn.
It's a cool card. It's a great reveal because, when we were rumored, we talked about a Renekton being one of those, his aggressiveness and how that card would be designed. So they nailed it. Like, they always nail it. They're real good at this, and they're keeping the pace, which is great. So all that being said, we're at that point in the episode where I have a question for Hedge. And this one obviously fits the theme of this episode. So if you were Ascendant, right?
Okay.
Which animal form would you take? And I go first, as always. And mine's kind of on the nose, but it just fits. I think it fits very well for me, which is a Black Panther, right? It's one of those cases where Panthers... and obviously I love Black Panther as the comics, but that's part of it. But Panthers as creatures are, they're strong. I consider myself strong, but they're also resourceful creatures. So why not? I mean, I'm ascending, right? Well, let's be the best version of myself in my new form. So I think that would be cool. I really haven't thought about like what type of weapon I would use. Because you have to have a cool weapon with everything.
I have to think even more now.
I would think probably, I really like scimitars. I've talked about that in other episodes. So screw it. I'm going scimitars again.
Yeah, stick with what you know, baby.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right. And I think I've kind of answered like both of those questions before. So if anything, I'm just showing consistency. So it not necessarily answered like these questions before, but like connecting them again, because I think my ascended form would be more like a wild boar.
Yep.
All right. So as far as like, not like a domesticated pig, but I would be a fatter boar than I would be like, muscular.
Like a Gragas boar?
Yeah. Like, oh, God, please bring me Gragas. Riot, please. So I'd be a boar, and then I like my weapon would probably be like more like a club. So like something that like I could effectively just baseball swing. All right? Yep.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, like like something that I could just like we would be ascended, so it would be these immortal bodies that are better than our human bodies. So I mean, I'm talking something fierce, like it would have like a lot of like runic shapes and stuff to make the mortals like truly worship me,
like a Trundle club of sorts.
But it look better than like Trundle's club. Like Trundle, it looks like a troll's club. Right now I'm thinking like like you see it's like you want to take the time to try to figure out what's carved into this club, but wait, there's no time because it's now crashing down on you. That's what I'm thinking.
Good answer. So it's funny because when you look at, and if you guys haven't heard our other questions, go back. There's a path here. It all comes together. It's the lore within lore.
And actually, on the only symbol that I know for certain that's going to be on the club, it's going to be on the very tip of the club, like at the very end of it, and it is going to be a carving of Cervantes.
Of course, branding's everything. I get it. I completely understand. But with that one, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon, very soon, with the next episode. Because it probably won't be the next episode, and just to date this episode a little bit, like hype train for J4. I want to bring the hype train up now because you're all welcome out there. I swear that we're getting Jarvan in this card game because you and I have talked about him already on the show before he's even in the card game. So you're all welcome. And Riot, you're welcome for giving you the idea. And we already have the title. It's going to be great. All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Take care, everybody.